A very good morning, children. Welcome back to our online video class. Children, in previous class we learnt about kinds of verbs based on function. Under that, verbs can be divided into two groups, main verbs and auxiliary verbs. And under auxiliary verbs, again it can be divided into two, primary auxiliaries and modal auxiliaries. What are called primary auxiliaries? Be verb, have form of the verb and do form of the verb are called primary auxiliaries. And modal auxiliaries like will, would, shall, should, may, might, must. So these are called modal auxiliaries. And we also have done the exercise how to know the main verb and auxiliary verb. And in today's class we are going to learn about kinds of verbs based on structure. Okay, so based on verbs based on structure, it can be regular verbs and irregular verbs. What are called regular verbs? So it has a fixed pattern, so it goes from present, past and past participle. Okay, so the form can be divided into base form or the present form. Then next one, simple past and the past participle. So in that we will follow the pattern, that is with the verb, base form of the verb we can add d or ed or ied. But for the irregular verbs there is no fixed pattern. By it cannot be formed by adding fixed characters. First let's see regular verbs. So the base form can be added ed to have the past and past participle. Base form of the verb, past and past participle. What is the base form of the verb? Jump. And in order to have the past form, we need to only add ed to the base form of the verb. Jump, jumped. Again in past participle also we need to add only ed to the base form of the verb. Jump, jumped, jumped. And another example, called, called, called. So you can see call. So in order to have the past form we add only ed to the base form of the verb, that is call. And for the past participle also we need to add only ed. To have the past participle we need to add ed to the base form of the verb call. Call, called, called. Another example, look, looked, looked. Okay, and in regular verbs we also need to only add d with the verb ending with e. When the verb ending with e, we need not to have again one more ed, but only we need to add only d to the base form of the verb. Base form of the verb, past, past participle. Like, the verb is ending with e. Okay, therefore in order to have the past form of the verb we need to add only d to the base form of the verb, that is like, liked, liked. In past participle also we need to add only d. Agree, again the verb is ending with e. So what we need to do to have a past and past participle, only we need to add d at the end of the verb. Agreed, agreed. And die, again here we find the verb ending with e. Okay, so we need to add only d to have the past and also past participle. Die, died, died. And in some of the regular verbs we need to have past and past participle, we need to add ied when the verb ending with y. For example, cry. So here the verb is ending with y, cry. Okay, so instead of y we need to replace y with the ied in order to have the past, and with the same for the past participle. Cry, cried, cried. Study, the verb is ending with y again, so we need to substitute the y with the ied. Studied, studied. Marry, married, married. And when we talk about irregular verbs, irregular verb can be divided into four groups. The first one is all three verb forms are same, and the second group same past and past participle forms, and in the third group same base and past participle form of the verb, and in group 4 we find all three forms are different. So these can be understood easily with the examples. So in the some of the irregular verbs in group 1 we learned that all three verb forms are same. Okay, we find all three forms are same in base, past and past participle. For example, put, put, put. Cut, cut, cut. So we have all three same only, and more example like shut, shut, shut. Hurt, hurt, hurt. Okay, so in all these we have three verb forms are same, and in group 2 we find same past and past participle form. So example, buy, in past bought, past participle the same of the past only, bought. Okay, feel, felt, felt. Win, won, won. So you find the second form and the third form are the same. And the group 3, so in some of the irregular verbs we find same base and past participle form are the same. So for the base, past and past participle, for the base form of the verb come, then in past came. So again we'll have the same as the base form of the verb in the past participle. Come, came, come. Become, became, become. Run, ran, run. So in the base form and the past participle are the same. So this verbs comes under group 3. And group 4, all three forms are different. Okay, so break, broke, broken. You can see the spelling. Break, different spelling we get. Broke is different from break, and broken is different from broke. So all three forms are different. Go, went, gone. Swim, swam, swum. Okay, so these verbs or irregular verbs comes under group 4. Okay, so these are called kinds of verbs based on structure, regular verbs and irregular verbs. Now let's move to the next one, that is kinds of verbs based on meaning. So under that we have dynamic verbs and stative verbs. What are called dynamic verbs? Most verbs are in this group. Dynamic verbs usually involve an action or an active process. So the verbs describe an action performed by the subject. It shows an action. So it can have the active process, continue process. So in order to show the action, we can have the verb like to play, to eat, to speak. So these verbs can have the continuous tenses. For example, to play is an action. To get the continue action, how will we say in sentences? I am playing with my friends. To eat, she was eating lunch with him. To speak, We will be speaking with him later. So always dynamic verbs has an action. It also can form the continuous tenses. So next we will see the stative verbs. What do you mean by stative verbs? It describes a state or condition. Okay, and it comes under three category: abstract, emotion, possession. So in order to show the abstract, we use the verb to know, to want, to need. In order to show the emotion, we use the verb to love, to hate, to prefer. In order to show the possession, we use the verb to have, to own, to belong. And one more thing you need to remember, that we cannot use stative verbs to form the continuous tenses, whereas dynamic verbs we can use the continuous tenses. But in stative verbs we cannot use stative verbs to form the continuous tenses. But we make mistake in these sentences when we say in abstract, I am knowing this girl. Is it wrong? So what is the correct sentence? I know this girl. And when we wanted to show the emotion, he was hating his work. It is a wrong. He hated his work. So it will not have the continuous tenses. Possession, I will be owning this house, is a wrong sentence. So we need to say I will own this house. So this is the correct sentence. Okay. So I hope you understood the concept of kinds of verbs based on structure and kinds of verbs based on meaning. So once again go through the video to understand all about what we have taught in this class. Let's meet in the next class. Thank you children. Have a nice day ahead.